So, after what happened, war needs to be judged.
When the seventh seal is broken,
Because clearly something wrong was happening, but we don't know what.
sons of men,
No. This is just the Earth going through National Fire Day.
will be judged, and the pact forged anew. You forget your post, Horseman. You forget the law. No call was given
Is this guy?
to destroy a
I should say, is this guy Judge Dredd's spirit or something?
under his black banner if the claims are true.
To hell with your claims. The seals were broken. I was summoned.
Then where are the other horsemen?
Yeah, that's a good point. It was only war, no one else was there.
Yeah, you're not exactly the party of one, are you?
All of them intact. There was no call. You aided the Dark Ones, broke a sacred covenant that has doomed mankind.
Interesting that our bosses all have the same voice.
No, they are like, I think one of them is Fatata Shore and the other two are like Phil Lamar, but they change with each game, the kind of VAs that they have.
Oh, it's weird, like, assuming all three are talking right now, they sound similar. I'm wondering if maybe that's the editing.
Yes.
Against the demons.
It's kind of like how in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, they actually do vote to get celebrities, but you wouldn't be able to tell because they're all high-pitched.
He was finished with you.
So yeah, the council really has a thick head and they believe war has betrayed them, but he just wants to prove them that no, something weird happened and, you know,
As the horseman
he
always
wants to find out what.
Send me back. I will punish the ones responsible.
How? What hope do you have against the Destroyer's armies? You are powerless.
Then I will fail. And the demons will have carried out your sentence.
I mean...
Also, they should get you a throat lozenge. Your throat sounds really, really scratchy.
However, as a failsafe, the Charred Council will put up a companion for to watch, you know, war. Think of it like Navi from Legend of Zelda, only a bit more twisted. Let's see if you can also guess what voice actor that they chose for the role.
The Watcher is bound to you. It will ensure your...
Oh, goody, a watcher. Wait, is that Mark Hamill?
Yes.
Remember that.
I didn't even have to hear his voice, it was the laughter.
What was popular also around this time? The Arkham games. So you're gotta have Mark Hamill somewhere. Alright, Jesus Christ.
So we have the Incredible Hulk and Joker helping out this guy, essentially.
So, yeah, we just need to carry a few, get a few things and then we'll be sent back to Earth. But again, I kind of like the twisted logic. Hey, it's kind of like that little Zelda, but instead of, you know, Navi saying, hey, listen, you have the fucking Joker chastising you.
Well, so when you think about it, this is a prototype for Arkham Knight.
To an extent, I guess. But to be fair, the Watcher is actually helpful to point out things that you might not notice.
Okay, is it possible that the Council are actually played by Isaac C. Singleton Jr. since it does sound somewhat...
I don't remember him being mentioned. Again, it's either Phil Lamar, Keith Cerveja, or Fatata Shore. By the time of the third game, Erin the Pole will actually step in to voice a few of them, but I haven't noticed the name you mentioned. Anyway, souls are your currency, duh.
Okay.
Specifically the blue soul. The green ones are your health, and the yellow ones are your mana meter, basically. We will need these souls for something.
Few can afford his services, but perhaps you can strike a bargain.
The Council confers with demons now, does it?
Since the truce was broken, some demons have fallen from the Destroyer's favor. Vulgrim is one such outcast. He has long sought an audience with us.
Okay, now I checked here. All heads are voiced by Present Ashore. Okay. But yeah, War raised a good point, you know, like how long was he gone from the beginning of the game? Turns out quite a bit.
So, War's apparently been hibernating in a sense.
That's how the Horsemen work. As long as they're employed by the Council, that is just like a more of an hibernation or anything. However, some ground rules. Yeah, the Watcher is not just there to be pleasant.
Take on a few ground rules. Until this is over,
They totally told him to use his Joker voice.
I mean, fucking duh.
you bark, and if I have to kick you,
You don't have legs.
your teeth. Understand?
Are you sure I don't have magnificent legs underneath this long, glorious gown?
You tell me.
So he's basically our video game boundaries.
Not necessarily. He's more there to remind you that not necessarily to step away from the path because it doesn't. He's only physical intervention and there's only cutscenes, thankfully. So you don't get a case of the game being too annoying for you actually trying to check optional stuff. Thankfully, but. You'll see exactly. Again, the role of a Watcher is essentially the one of the Fairy Companion from Zelda. You know, point out that an enemy or an object that needs to be interacted with, and you might have not noticed otherwise. It's not essential, but it's useful sometimes.
I was gonna joke that there'd be boundaries where we go, where, he does that video game thing of, you can't go
Thankfully,
there.
no. Anyway, time to start actually having some opposition with Doom classic style, having the lower level grunts being the zombified remains of the humans.
Why are they naked?
Some of them have
Here
pants.
comes the welcome party.
You guys look like you were rejected from Code Veronica.
War, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is
Fine.
War. Goodbye.
Well, pretty much.
Also,
Go on.
how cute. We're in the Seraphim Hotel. Okay, was that what it was called before all
Yes,
this
sir.
madness happened? Or is it only called... Okay.
It doesn't
I was gonna
really
wonder if it's...
particularly matter, but there is some kind of irony. A bit similar to what you see in stuff like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta.
I was wondering if it was a case where it's been renamed because enemies are taking over, or if this is like some
No.
holy city that's descended from old times, like
The former-
sort of like
The former applies when for the actual lands where you are. Like this is the remain of, I guess it's supposed to be New York City from the prologue, but they don't call it like that. Instead, calls it a specific way, like I forgot, like the Ashen Lands or something, and that applies to all the areas in the game.
plot twist. This is actually Philadelphia in the wake of M. Night Shyamalan's Devil.
I mean, it could also be Detroit or Cleveland. From what I heard, the stories that I heard about those places are not particularly pretty.
You see, Detroit's the place that even the devil takes one look at and goes, you know what? No thanks.
I guess OCP was not strong enough to repel the demons. Fair enough. That's not what it was. That's not really the, the kind of scenario that I thought Robocop would have gone through. But hey, you never know.
So I guess I'll give the Council some credit. A whole war between all factions of the Afterlife breaking out on the human world. I can totally see why they would suspect that war is behind it. Like, now, it varies with how Horsemen work. Sometimes Horsemen literally just are doing their job. sometimes horsemen are trying to perpacitate and, you know, exacerbate the things tied to them. Like, sometimes the war horsemen will be all about stoking the fires, and pestilence will be all about spreading them diseases.
The second game
man.
will elaborate on why the Charred Council might, and I emphasize on might, be suspicious on war, because it elaborates the backstory of the horsemen and why they came to actually have to, you know, be in service of the council. But it's also worth noting, I think I mentioned, that only war and death are carried out from the original, you know, scriptures, but instead pestilence and famine were converted into strife and conflict, I think.
Conquest, I think?
No, Conquest
let me
is
double-
Conquest is in another, you know, media, for which is fun, but let me see quickly. I'm not sure. Okay, I get why fan. There you go. Fury and Strife. There you go. The other two. I don't
Wait,
like.
Furies?
Yes,
That sounds like...
Fury is the only token girl, which we'll see in the third game. It's worth noting.
Oh, you're talking about for this series. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough.
Again, I don't honestly. I don't think Pestilence would have been that hard to implement potentially. So I don't know why they. Famine, I get it. It might have been a bit weird potentially in terms of set of powers, unless you count Decay, but that overbounds with Pestilence. You know. Again, it's worth noting that the four horsemen, you know, exhibit specific traits specifically for the decadence of humanity to an extent, you know.
So the funny thing is, nowadays most people think of the four horsemen as death, war, famine, and plague/pestilence. However, from the original Bible excerpt, the four were death, famine, war, and conquest. I guess to be fair to modern media, a lot of people probably figured that, you know, conquest and war kind of go hand in hand.
Also, probably some overlapping considering what happened with the Black Plague in the medieval ages.
Also, if you want to know the original names from the Bible, conquest was called Zalus, famine was called Limos or Fames, death was known as Mors or Thanatos, and war was known as Ares, go figure.
Yeah, again, it probably was a thing that the Council of Nicaea promoted in terms to keep promoting the gradual dissipation of the paganism by saying, no, it's cool, your deities are just being reconverted into this hot new religion, but you need to absolutely try, otherwise we'll shame you forever.
Go figure.
It's also worth
funny
noting that the riders are described by color, you know, in some way.
Yep, the white horse, red horse, black horse. The fourth one tends to be either a gray or green horse, I
The key is
believe.
that Death is, the one that everyone remembers is that Death is the pale rider. That hence why a lot of depictions of the Green Reaper are just the skeleton, you know. Anyway, this hotel was your tutorial area, basically. If I recall correctly, after this area, and of course being a 2010 game, you do get the obligatory area that get locked up by a wall of energy, which was so common at the time. Hell, even fucking Crush of the Titans had this.
Beautiful, I know.
I mean, at the very least in that it was kind of justified because Uka Uka actually had, you know, enough mystical powers for it to be justified. Some games just tend to have it just cause because they need to block an area for it.
So for this series, they decided the fourth one should be Fury.
Well, the third one is Fury because you get to play her. You get to play her for the third game. Strife is reserved technically for the fourth game with an asterisk on it. Whenever we get to Genesis, I will be able to tell more.
So do Fury and Strife have like any qualities you see in, you know, usually some of the ones that aren't war or death?
Not really. The thing that differences the horsemen are their signature weapon and their, well, you know, play style to an extent. War is again bulky, big sword and everything. Regularly Death has Science, which doubles as both a two-hand weapon and occasionally combine them into one, similar to what Zidane does in Final 9. Fury has a whip and tends to play a bit more on the slow side, but methodical and slightly ranged. And Strife is the gunslinger. Just cowboy gunslinger. That's what you get.
Of course. I mean, I bring this up because it feels like out of all depictions of the Horsemen, the only two that stay the most consistent are war and death.
Basically.
When it comes to the other two, sometimes they'll swap out their things and whatnot. The most common ones I see are famine and pestilence. Of course, some people sometimes argue that those two are the same thing, so then you change that up here and there and whatnot.
You also have to remember that this is actually primarily the pet project of a former Image Comics, writer and artist. So, you have to expect this kind of, character appearances. Here's the Crossroads, which is in the middle of what was New York City, quote-unquote. But
In Earth years,
there you go, war was roughly gone by 100 years.
Well, crud, I think that might mean the world's wrecked now.
The third
Yeah,
kingdom
you can
is
say that
lost.
again.
The third. Oh, well, no, don't worry. You can just go to the fourth kingdom.
So doesn't that kind of imply that there's not much we can do then if the world's already doomed?
And-
Remember, we need to find whoever is responsible for the premature apocalypse.
Hang on a minute. What happened to the first and second kingdom?
Heaven and Hell lives.
Basically, the third kingdom's
They
our
mentioned
world.
that in the intro. Pay attention. Anyway, here's Fulgrim, voiced by Phil Lamar.
Vulgrim.
He is your whatever stereotypes you have about a merchant that you can get. Super chummy, but only because it wants your currency.
This is the first time I've
Council
ever heard.
laryngitis, I guess.
This is the first time I've ever heard Phil Lamar try and do that type of voice. Interesting.
Also, check this out. After you give the souls that the council gave you to, not to forge the accord.
There were a few young ones.
Ew.
Oh god, he was on the island.
You seek the power behind the one called Destroyer. You will find the answers and the font of his power there.
I'm sure you're
Times
ever
New Roman.
trustworthy.
Such haste to die.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the war still also has to regain his powers.
You wouldn't last a heartbeat.
Stop doing that.
Besides, the way to the tower is shrouded by demon magics. Even I do not know the way.
Who does?
Feed my hunger.
Of course.
Well, he is a merchant, so
Yeah, I tell you that I'm hungry.
Even in literal post-apocalyptic war, capitalism still rules. Jesus.
also 500 souls. Jesus Christ, you glutton!
He's a true money bag, so to speak.
We need to put you on a souls diet.
Okay.
Even Davy Jones only asked for 100.
That being said, the game is not super merciless. Right now it gives you from the beginning because I think it's either the first area or it was an old DLC bonus that got carried over in the War Master edition. The Horde Seeker. The Horde Seeker basically allows you to see where treasure chests of all kind are on the map of one particular area. Mind you that each major area counts as a different place, so for this one it's giving you as a freebie, but in other cases you will need to find the Horde Seeker, hidden somewhere. So,
Of course.
for the time being, this acts as a kind of a mini other tutorial area just to let you explore a bit and see what the surrounding areas around, is about, and collect souls for Fulgrim. For noting that, if they noticed, birds who are actually, following around, if you manage to kill them, it's not always a guarantee that you can, give you always 3 souls. So if you manage to actually, here you go. So if you manage to actually, kill them, they actually can provide a quick, small healing in case of emergency. Ow.
Yeah, I can definitely see this being portrayed as an Image comic.
Again, you can tell that Joe Mad was particularly a fan of the Spawn, or what he wanted to do. it's worth noting that if I were to read the comic that he did for Image Comics, which was, you know, I need to remember the title. There you go, Battle Chasers, which is a more of a traditional fantasy kind of story. So it's slightly different than this in terms of theming and imagery. So this is more the stuff that you would expect from Todd McFarlane, of course, when he did Spawn for Image Comics. Well, it's worth noting that Image Comics was relatively sportive towards Joe Mad, because when he decided to quit the company for different reasons, they did allow him to regain completely, fully the rights to the comic, instead of actually, you know, work them into whatever new universe they wanted to have, and you know, take it away from him.
By corporate standards, that is amazingly generous.
It is worth noting that it's kind of a bit more in tune with what originally Image Comics was, you know, founded as by Rob Liefeld. The idea of someone, for authors and writers to actually, you know, step away from the big two, because they felt too much oppressed and have more creative freedom. Mind you, what Rob did, especially in the 90s, instead was anything but thankfully the company endured enough to, you know, get better out of that. For the very least of that. Watch the rise and fall of comic book empire, you know, for more information about it. It's worth noting that Battle Chasers, though it's kind of incomplete. Joe Mad did mention that he always wanted to finish it at some point, and he did manage to make a few more issues and even a fine video game set after the events of the miniseries. But the series is still not fully complete yet.
So let me get this straight.
When that will happen.
I guess credit where it's due. Like, for a comic book to make the leap from that to video game, especially if it's one of the lesser
project. You might remember one character from it was supposed to be one of the cameo characters in Indivisible, you know, among the many others, Carinetto.
Yeah.
But that never happened because you know what happened with Indivisible, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is honestly a shame. I was kind of looking forward to Indivisible. They did get my attention with Shantae showing up there, but yeah, stuff happened, and let's just say Indivisible isn't going to go down in the best of history.
I mean, it's still a fine, you know, game for what it wants to do, so there's that.
Got your 500 souls, Glutton.
Well, let me just explore a bit more, just in case. Yes, I can.
No, I actually wanted 503. You just heard me.
This is where
we have 505.
Again, this is where the watcher comes in. He will just chime in occasionally to tell you, okay, you're good to go for the next, you know, objective if you want. Again, there's a bit of a gameplay story segregation where the watcher is supposed to be particularly nasty and, you know, not super friendly to you. But in gameplay, because, you know, they need to adhere to the standard of being helpful to you as on a gameplay level, is actually very useful.
Huh, so you're saying they tried to make him annoying but failed?
More like just for the story purpose.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I'm not too bugged by that. Like, yes, I get it, story, gameplay segregation, but admittedly, if he was going to be needlessly obnoxious the whole time, that might have been worse.
Not to mention, you know, supposedly, he's still here to, you know, get shit done as well. So,
yeah,
like, counterproductive.
Like, honestly, the first inkling I get from him is he's a dick, but he still will follow things to the letter of the law for the most part, so it's not like he's going to impede us where we could legit make progress.
Alright.
Especially since I believe his bosses wouldn't like that.
The yellow meter, like I said, represents your mana, but unfortunately for this game it refills very slowly. You need so many yellow spheres, and your extra power consumes them way too much to be you know, consistently helpful. They are situational for crowd control, but you can tell they were not particularly well balanced.
So, assuming you only play as each of these horsemen for each game, I have to say it's kind of a bold maneuver to have each be one and done for each installment.
That's because, again, it's more like progressing the story. Unfortunately, this came to a screeching halt after the second game, because if you remember the timing, right after that, the old THQ went bankrupt. So,
yeah.
And this is also reflected because I need to warn you in advance. Darksiders 2 is still a game that was rushed towards the finish line where the story is fine and the gameplay technically works, but the actual, you know, coding of the game is kind of held on with scotch tape. There are a lot of bugs, but even in the Death Unity edition have not been fixed, so, you know, you have been warned in advance.
And if I recall correctly, there was a massive gap in time in between Darksiders 2 and Darksiders 3.
Not as much as one would think, but definitely, you know, the bankruptcy of the old THQ did put a dent in the works. And these were not in bed. Right after the EP acquisition, Nordic Games immediately told we don't really have the resources to continue, but we'll try to prioritize as soon as we can, which eventually, again, they did. Sword Not in Bed Dromad did not work directly for Darksiders 3, but still did help on some occasion, and then came back at least as a director or writer, I forgot in which specific role, for Genesis, the fourth game. And now, like, I think last year, at the usual presentation that THQ Nordic tends to have around August, they did announce finally a fifth game, so supposedly the conclusive one, but not much more has happened yet. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, like, I know that there was enough of a gap in between the two that I recall Darksiders 3 being heavily lauded just for existing when it was first announced.
Yes, me too. I was actually, you know, particularly hyped, but all in due time.
Have a mind of their own. But with this, you may reach an understanding.
Sure, whatever.
Beyond the gate, seek out
Samael,
Samael's
are you
prison.
sure?
Once, Samael was close in power.
Oh,
to
we're
the
meeting
Dark
just all the
Princess.
celebrities from the Bible, aren't we?
More people we probably instead should not meet.
You will find.
I mean,
is
I
no
guess,
friend
enemy
to
of my
the
enemy.
destroyer. Seek me out when you've gathered more souls.
Okay,
I will make
Sure.
it worth your while.
greedy bastard.
I smell an upgrade shop.
Basically. Alright, let's assign the new item that we have just acquired after, you know, there you go, the checkpoint, the Earth Caller, which is a horn. This is more situational for these particular gates. You can use it in combat and it stuns temporarily the enemy, but you will get better tools very soon. So we just need to assign to one of the quick... there you go. And then Toot.
Lovely.
Okay. I mean, I was gonna say that's a good idea. Let the enemy know you're coming, but considering how big they are,
Call of my ancestors, awakened at last from the dreamless sleep. Then we are free.
No, free while the destroyer still breathes.
Deep, man.
The destroyer, yes.
We can actually learn more about these creatures in the second game. For the purpose of this one, they're just literal, you know, gates in golem format that block your way to unlock. They also serves to, you know, have showcase the scope of the game, because, you know, oh, such a big object. Again, this was not too long before the PS4 and Xbox One were unleashed, so, you know, the desire for technological progress and showcasing, you know, attention to scale was still there in some capacity.
On your journey,
Oh yeah, so in order to make things easier and not having to grind for an eternity for souls, you may found a collectibles similar to one that I got earlier. Artifacts of a fallen legion, quote-unquote, that Bulgrim is particularly interested in. Give it to them, and he will reward you with souls that you can use.
So he's willing to pay us in souls that he knows we're just gonna give back to him.
That's commerce, baby.
Yes, it is. And hey, if it works in our favor, why not?
You can get also items, particularly, you know, healing items, but you might as well not do it. The game, even on normal mode, the game is still relatively easy to actually hand out. And yes, you can also get a couple of extra weapons, like a scythe that's similar to the one of the War's Brother, Death.
How
But
nice.
the main treat are of course the techniques that you get. It's similar pretty much to Devil May Cry, where you just need to, you know, properly purchase them.
So, when they first made this game, did they at least have all the Horseman designs planned out from the beginning?
Yes,
Okay.
they were just not present in the full game in order to keep a bit of a mystery and showcase maybe a bunch of, you know, silhouettes. But there was also a small prequel mini-comic done which showcases the designs of the Horseman full force. The only reason why I think we should not cover it is because it spoils something that happens at the end of the game. So,
Of course,
it's
yeah.
relatively pointless to look before, and after it just tells you what you already know. It was,
I wonder if there'll be... Oh,
if
sorry.
I recall correctly, it was like a bonus or something, but I don't remember the details about it. Go on.
I wonder if there'll be a twist where it turns out the fourth game is actually not the final game, but a precursor to the true finale, a fifth game where you actually get to play as all four of the Horsemen together at last.
Like I said, that's what happened. The fourth game is the one about, you know, strife.
Well, my point is, like, I wonder if maybe the twist will be that that's not actually going to be the last game,
Oh
but
no,
it'll be a
here's the thing,
precursor
Jova.
to...
The games jump around the timeline a lot. Like, the second game takes place while war is still being judged. The same for the third game, and the fourth one is a prequel. In order to ease things up, thankfully, the Horsemen do not need to have an air meter to go underwater, and their, you know, swimming movement is fine enough, so you don't have to worry about, you know, cumbersome stuff or needing a special piece of equipment later on.
I mean, we're basically deities here. It kind of makes sense we don't need to breathe.
It's kind of like with Spyro, it's just for convenience sake, don't question it. For now I will just properly showcase the combat, but as you can imagine it can get potentially tedious on the long run, so expect a lot of speed up in some sections where you just do nothing but combat, especially because while there is decent enough competitive variety, the combat is so integral for this game that, you know, you will get to see a lot of repeated enemies, you know, very soon. So, again, for the convenience just of this run, because at its core, when it comes to the gameplay, this is one of those games that is best to be enjoyed on your own, rather than to be potentially commented on.
I'm guessing it's also one of those cases that a lot of beat 'em ups fall into, where this one move pretty much becomes the one move you're going to be spamming a lot because it's the best
Yes
and quickest
no.
way to get
the
through
game gives you a
things.
decent enough amount of tools to juggle with, and some enemies are specifically weak to those, so...
Ah, okay then.
Again, Jova, Zelda influence.
Eh. I always do get a kick out of series that legit do like to just, you know, do one thing or another, or legit hop around with all that jazz. Like, it gives the inkling that they were throwing everything they could at the wall to see what stick, but at least in this case it seems like everything seemed to work out for the most part. Moosehead
so-
was.
Well, I still argue that it's a case where people softened out over time because, like you said, when the game came out, while it definitely was beloved by people who played it, a lot of critics around were throwing it, just dismissing it to say, oh, it's yet another, Devil May Cry clone, hack and slash, nothing that's much worth your time because it's too much of a ripoff. Again, Yassi's review is not necessarily infamous, but a good point on how the mentality was at the time.
Sure would not be the first Yahtzee review to be infamous. Although, okay, to be fair, if I'm really being fair, part of that may have been the zeitgeist of the time, which was to accentuate the negative of some reviews.
Well, to be fair, no, I still think he had some level of points, but I don't remember what Total Biscuit said about this.
Do you know what's imprisoned here?
Rest his soul.
There are things even you should fear, Horseman. Once you were strong, but now you are weak and you are alone. The Destroyer.
And I'm gonna be the guy who beats war.
Now, he moves his legions against you.
Then I'll make this quick.
Shame you couldn't tell me his name.
It's just the Destroyer.
But part of the mystery is trying to figure out the true identity of this destroyer.
It's not Satan, I can tell you that. So.
Nah, that would be too easy. Especially since, okay, character-wise at his core, Satan's more about conquering rather than destroying. Again, that can sometimes vary with iterations, but deciphering the Bible best I can, Lucifer wasn't so much about pure destruction so much as it was he and his dad had way too big a disagreement, and then Michael had to literally throw him down the pot.
We need to steal this guy, but as you can see, he loves to just hide behind his minions. Ow.
Huck's big, not that strong.
This type of enemy will be recycled later, just in a different variant, but again, it kind of makes sense that for now will be just built up as your first mini boss. There you go.
It's okay, he's armless now.
Well, also dead. Alright, in order to free Samuel from his prison, still not sure if it's a good idea, we just need to make sure that all the statues actually, spew blood. I love that the Watcher literally also does the same thing of, hey, listen, from Navi.
Though it's being conducted by the luscious voice of Mark Hamill, so I doubt that annoyed most players, thankfully.
No. It's a kind of endearing thing of, oh, he's an asshole, but he's entertaining still to listen.
Yes.
Also, once again, typecasting because Mark Hamill cannot escape, villainous roles.
War. Are you here
Samuel, he is voiced by the legendary Vernon Wells, if you forgot Bennett, the second in command from the movie Commando that gets impaled on a steam pipe. I also love the details that his wings are literally backward to symbolize his status as a fallen angel.
Has prison made you a coward?
Oh,
That's so bad how he
struck a
tells
nerve
this.
there.
Perhaps there is a way, but you will need to get inside the Destroyer's spire. The tower is guarded.
I don't fancy getting inside anyone's spire, thank you very much.
So yeah, in true Zelda fashion, your main objective, bring 4 hearts so that, you know, Samael can use their power to
Where can
unlock
I
the
find
tower.
these guardians?
First, seek the Twilight Cathedral, where the
No
Backbone
questions
Tiamat
asked.
has gone to roost. The whole
Wait,
of her
Tiamat's
domain
usually a
is
dragon.
It's a pet in this case, just
By
roll
land,
it.
you will never
Okay.
reach it. Find the high ground. With this,
And Samael occasionally gives you a bit of an extra boost in
and
terms
bring
of
me
power.
her still.
Those wings will not let you fly, but at least glide a bit.
A nice guy.
Well, that means also we'll have to meet him more. So tune in for the next part, where we will need to progress through the more dreary land until we find the Twilight Cathedral, like Samael told us. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.